thank you for joining us this evening. I'll go ahead and call our Board of Education meeting to order. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to say good evening, Board, and good evening to everybody who is here with us at the Performing Arts Center. We're really glad to have you here with us this evening. I'd like to say hello to those folks who are also watching us online on Rebel TV. Good evening and welcome to our meeting as well. Our first order of business, Mr. Chair, is the invocation, and I've got a treat for you and the Board this evening. It was 1 year ago during the April meeting. It was the final meeting of Principal Keith Knuckles, and Principal Keith Knuckles is with us this evening. And so let's invite Mr. Knuckles, who is also Reverend Keith Knuckles, and let's bring him up to the front. And Mr. Knuckles, it sure is good to see you, and you're looking good.
I'm so honored, so thankful to be here to not only deliver a blessing, but just to see people. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that I had. When I left, I didn't realize how much family meant to me, and y'all are family, and so are these young people, and so are this staff. So I want to say thank you, Fannin County. I love you. I miss you, but God is good.
Amen.
I think if we can, let's go ahead and bow our heads and ask God to bless this meeting. And
we will all rise, please.
Everything that we are about. Precious Holy God, our Master, our Creator, we love you so much. And God, we want to thank you for just having grace and mercy and love and forgiveness and strength and might and power and bestowing that in us and through us. And God, for these parents that are here, may you continue to bless them with wisdom, with strength, with understanding, God, with love. For these teachers and these staff, this administration that's here, would you please put wisdom into their minds and hearts? May we consider only what not only that these young people need, but what we can do so that your word, your will, your way can continue. And Father, we give you all the credit and honor and glory for putting us in the places that we are as parents, as leaders, as teachers, as staff, as community servants. And God, you placed us here. We sought you. We will strive to do whatever it is that you will and teach us your will. You bless this meeting. You bless these young men and young women. God, you prosper the parents. And thank you so much, Father, for just the chance, just the opportunity to work with them. But God, again, bless us and give us insight. Thank you for your word, your will, your way, your strength, and all that you are in us and through us. In the name of Jesus, we pray. All God's people said, amen.
Thank you, Mr. Knuckles. Mr. Chair, our next item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and for that we have three head coaches in the building. So we're going to ask if our coaches Patterson and Cheatham, Coach Chastain is well up here. Yes, and you can come to the podium right here and direct everybody to the flag and lead us in the pledge, gentlemen.
There's the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, coaches. You may be seated. Mr. Chair, our next item of business is to approve the consent agenda. This is comprised of two parts. Part A is tonight's agenda, and Part B is to approve minutes of the last meeting, which was March 10th. Mr. Inslee has opened those up, and he will scroll through those at this time. Mr. Chair, I recommend to approve items on the consent agenda as presented.
We have a recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda and a second. All those in favor? Vote is unanimous. Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Our next item, Mr. Chair, is some special recognitions, and for that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Fannin County High School Principal Dr. Scott Ramsey. Dr. Ramsey?
Good evening, Dr. Gwatney and the board. It is so awesome to be here tonight for the reason that we are here. This is one of our favorite things to do, to recognize our kids and their many achievements. I'm going to say a special congratulations and express my excitement over an outstanding athletic year under the very able leadership of our athletic director, Shannon York. And I'm going to invite her to the podium, and she will introduce our coaches so they can tell more about our student athletes.
Thank you, Dr. Ramsey. It is a privilege and a pleasure to be here, and I consider it a blessing. I have been blessed with the opportunity to walk into this excellent coaching staff, and it feels like a great gift to get to be here and to get to have all these coaches that work with our athletes. I'm proud of the teams. I'm proud of their accomplishments, and I'm happy for all that they've done, but I'm also proud of these coaches with their effort and their pride and their character in leading these young people. I'm honored for any of these coaches to coach my children, and if they're good enough for my children, they're good enough for every child in this county. And so I feel comfortable and proud to introduce at this time and let Coach Chad Cheatham, our high school football coach, tell you all about the accolades of our Fannin County High School football team.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight. I want to thank you, Dr. Gwatney, and the Board of Education, also our admin, Dr. Scott Ramsey. All of our admin is here. I want to say, too, a special thank you to Ms. Shannon York, who has gone above and beyond anything that you can imagine in this building, making our athletic department great. And I want to say I appreciate you. I thank you very much. As you can see tonight, we don't have very many, and I think that you need to understand it's not just because they didn't want to be here. It's that on our roster, we had 31 players that are involved in extracurricular activities today. And I think that is amazing, from track to golf to soccer to baseball going on. And that's a great problem to have. When you have 60 or so on roster and 31 of those kids are involved in more than one sport, I think that's a sign that we as an athletic department under Mrs. York's lead and Dr. Ramsey's lead, we are heading in the right direction. So I want to give that a round of applause. Last year I stood here and in this very spot, and as we looked at that graduating class, we just had our seniors here last year. We were still coming out of the COVID issue and things like that, and I think that everyone was hesitant to look at that class and to say that I would be back again this year when we looked at what we lost, those 15 seniors from last year. And my final words to you that night were, we're not finished. And so now tonight, we're back again. And there's a sign and a poster in our field house which says, "Tradition never graduates." And the 2021 team did not disappoint. They accepted the challenge, and they continued to lay down the tradition for the next generation, for the next teams to come. I want to thank my coaching staff. A lot of them are coaching tonight. So a lot of them aren't here. My coaching staff, who are the real heroes of this organization: Coach Thigpen, Coach Collis, Coach Patterson, Coach O'Neill, Coach Reese, Coach Turner, Coach King, Coach Ryan Holloway, our staff at the middle school, our staff at the rec department that do a phenomenal job of helping to build this program. I hope I did not miss anybody. Coach Kuna, I miss Coach Kuna. He's at the track meet. That's why I missed him. I want to thank this football team, not only for the contributions on the football field, but in our school and our community. It was a pleasure and honor to coach the 2021 football team. Simply said, they refused to lose. They were a blue-collar football team that played fast, they played physical, and they played free. They didn't look for someone to hit. They went hunting for someone to hit. And that's what you want.
Amen.
I'm not going to make any predictions, but I will say again, we are not finished. We may be starting over, but the end result will be well worth it, I do believe. And I'll leave you with this, a quote. This might not be an easy time. There are rivers to cross and hills to climb. Some days we might fall apart. Some nights might feel cold and dark. Nobody wins when they are afraid of losing. And the hard roads are the ones worth the choosing. And someday we'll look back and smile and know the journey was worth every mile. So I'm going to introduce this 2021 team. I don't know if we have any seniors tonight. We have Isaac and we have Jackson, 2 seniors. And then we're starting over basically with this new group. I'll call them up. Jackson Davis, come on up. Isaac Davis. Brody Pascal. It's hard to see. Nate Malouf. Logan Long. Cooper Hilliard. Jacob Dye. And Bryson Fink. If I could have our coaches come up too, that'd be great.
And board will come up here with them as well.
So just like Coach Cheatham said, we have lots of athletes that are everywhere. Our track is competing tonight. Our soccer just had a big win last night, and they're going to the Elite Eight, our soccer girls. We have 2 of our football players who are at track tonight who also advanced to the Sweet 16 for esports. So Ricardo Arianes and Dylan Collins, they are competing. So we got lots of awesome stuff going on and people everywhere. And I think we're missing a few of the next ladies too. But at this time, I would like to introduce to you Coach Ryan Chastain.
Thank you, Ms. York. Good evening.
First of all, on behalf of the entire Lady Rebels basketball program, we want to thank our Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Gwatney and our district leadership team for inviting us here. Much like Coach Cheatham said, we are happy to be back again this year. We stood here about this time last year, and we graduated 6 seniors off last year's team that were very good players, and we feel very fortunate and very blessed for the young people we have in our program and the amount of work that they put in to get us back to where we are. I do have to have one little extra district level thank you. It's no secret that we like to practice at 6 a.m. a lot of times on a regular basis. But what most people don't know is I usually forget to ask Mr. Danner to turn the heat on. So Mr. Danner, thank you for being on call 24/7 in the wintertime so we don't freeze to death. I really appreciate that. He's always been helpful to get that done for us. I'd also like to thank our high school administration, Dr. Scott Ramsey, Ms. Heather Collis, Ms. Betsy Hyde, and Mr. David Henson for their leadership and support. We really appreciate that. And a very special thank you to Ms. Shannon York, who has worked so hard to make sure we feel valued and supported us all year long. And she also holds a special place in our heart as a former Lady Rebel basketball player, of course. I'd also like to thank some other very important people. Like Coach Cheatham said, this don't work without your assistance. Megan Queen, who's been an unbelievable assistant to me, as well as Coach Randy Hallmark, and this year for her first year, Lacey Walden. And someone that I forgot to thank last year that I feel bad about, and that's Natasha Anderson, who's our middle school basketball coach, that I don't think people know how much she does, not only during the season, but in the off season, working with our kids. So we're really, really thankful for the people that we have around us. I'd like to thank my wife, Dr. Amanda Newton Chastain. She has the hardest job of all because I'm always wanting to leave. This morning I was up at 5 a.m. and off to work with some kids before school started, and she didn't kill me when the alarm went off, so we're appreciative of that. Our parents who've worked so hard in the tip-off club, they put so much time in, working the concession stand, raising money, helping organize events. They're unbelievable. Our community, who has been for the last 3 years, just, I can't put it in words. We've sold out our gym multiple times for the playoffs. They have traveled in large groups to Macon, to Augusta, to Albany, just massive, massive support. And among that group is another very special group, and that's our young middle school and park and rec Lady Rebels, who, if you came to a basketball game, you could hear them. They were there loud and proud and very supportive of us. But finally, we want to talk just for a minute about our 10 young ladies who were varsity Lady Rebels this year. They've had such a wonderful year and so many accomplishments that I'm just going to try and list a few. 26 wins and 3 losses. ETC tip-off tournament champions. One that holds a special place in my heart, undefeated versus 515 rivals Pickens, Union, and Gilmer. Back-to-back undefeated seasons versus our region, a combined 28-0 against Region 7AA. Back-to-back undefeated seasons at home. Our current streak is at 25 games in a row. We have not lost a home game here. Back-to-back region champions for the first time since 98 and 99. 5 straight wins at home in the GHSA state playoffs. And this season, an Elite 8 appearance and finished 5th in the GHSA state rankings. We also had 2 All-State representatives who were Becca Ledford and Courtney Davis. We also had 4 All-Region representatives, Becca Ledford, Courtney Davis, Reagan York, and Ellie Cook. Pull the curtain back a little bit here. Those 4 All-Region players were also 4 of the top 6 vote getters for Player of the Year for the region. So 4 of those kids were considered as the best player in the region. Lost my place. Just the individual accomplishments and work ethic of all these kids it's just a blessing for me to be able to coach them. I tell them all the time that I'm just the caretaker, that these buildings, this gym, this program, it's theirs, and they've really taken an ownership role of it since I've been here, and I'm so proud of them. So at this time, I'd like to present some members of the 2021-2022 ETC Tournament champions, as well as our Region 7 AA champions. First with our sophomores, Jaden Bailey. Macy Hawkins. Reagan O'Neill. Courtney, I'm sorry, I'm holding that to the end. Ava Queen. Riley Reeves. Ellie Cook. And Jenna Young. Not present tonight, as we mentioned earlier, Courtney Davis is on her way to a basketball tournament in North Carolina for 3 days. And Becca Ledford and Reagan York are playing golf tonight. I also don't want to go away without congratulating Becca Ledford, who signed a full scholarship to play basketball at the University of West Georgia, as well as Reagan York, who committed to play at Piedmont University.
Let's get a photo with this group.
Next, we have a gentleman who, no matter what kind of day you're having, you're going to have a little bit better day if you come across him, because he does something profound like find the salt shaker in the cafeteria and find the joy in that. He'll always find the joy in everything, and he leads his young men and women well, too. I would like to welcome and introduce Coach Chuck Patterson.
Guys, y'all don't understand. For 3 years, I've been looking for that salt shaker in the cafeteria, and I was like, finally, I did it. Members of the board, Dr. Gwatney, members of the Fannin County School System District Administrative Team, I want to thank you again for your willingness to take time out of your monthly meeting to recognize the hard work and dedication of the SCHS wrestling team. Just a quick thing about these guys. For the second year in a row, this group of guys and ladies have achieved new heights in terms of our wrestling program. This is the first time in school history that the program has won an area dual team championship, hosted the first 2 rounds of the state dual team playoffs, qualified for the state dual team championship, and finished in the Final Four of the entire state. It's truly a phenomenal achievement. Great job, guys. Members of the team include, that are here tonight, Isaac Davis. Come on. Logan Long, area champion. Bryson Fink. Jacob Zye. Tristan Seiler. Colby Shaw. Blake Summers, area champion, 3rd in the state. Cooper Moreland. Bailey Pettit, and Carly Cox. Again, a lot of the members of this team were unable to attend this meeting due to the fact they're participating in multiple sports. That just goes to show how determined our athletes are to compete and how willing our coaches are to share athletes, now supported by our administrative team made up of Dr. Scott Ramsey, Shannon York, Heather Collis, David Henson, and Betsy Hyde truly are. To have the success that FCHS has had over the last 2 years athletically as a whole, it takes a lot of very dedicated people, from students to parents to booster club members like ours in the wrestling program. Joan Seiler, Jesse Shaw, Shannon Dye do an amazing job. Assistant coaches, Coach Collis, don't know what I would do without you. Lay coaches, teachers, and administrators. Our success continues into the spring as our girls program won their region championship, girls soccer program won their region championship and has advanced to the Elite Eight. We are truly a family at FCHS, which is a byproduct of the incredible community in which we are all blessed to live. The Fannin County School System, Fannin County Rec Department have all played a great role in the closeness of our schools. All are working together for the common good of our students and student athletes. And I would like to close, as I did last year, speaking for all of the FCHS athletic programs in the words of Coach Cheatham, we are not done.
Let's get a photo. Let's give all of these coaches and all of these players one more round of applause. And board, if you'd come back up, what I'd like to do, let's get all of our head coaches, any coaches, assistant coaches, if you're here, let's get you a photograph with your admin. Come up here with the board. I'm so proud of you, and the work and dedication that you put in to serve these children is making a difference in their lives and greatly appreciated. We owe it to you. Let's get our coaches, assistant coaches up here for a photo. Mr. Chair, I have one more special recognition that I'd like to make at this time, and it actually involves one of our wrestlers. And for that, I'm going to ask Miss Yanni, would you come up to the front? Come up on stage, Miss Yanni. We'll get you a microphone. And Miss Yanni is a teacher at West Fannin Elementary School, and she had a very hard morning, the morning of April 7th, as she was driving to West Fannin Elementary School on Highway 5, just south of the hospital. Her vehicle caught on fire as she was driving down the road. And she pulled into a little convenience store, and one of our wrestlers, Tristan Seiler, where's Tristan? Tristan, Come on up here. Tristan came to her aid, and I'm going to read a little passage here. Can I read what you've written? Talking about Tristan, he didn't hesitate to act when he heard me calling for help in the dark. He was my hero that morning. I know God has a reason for everything. I would gladly do anything I can to help Tristan get the recognition that he deserves. And I heard that after the whole incident, he was just worried about being late to class. This goes to show that he is a very humble young man who takes the time to look out for others. I know that our school system is proud of Tristan, and we are. What an honor to know that students have such outstanding character. And I know that you want to say a few words as well.
First, I want to thank Dr. Gwatney and the board for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share. I wanted to congratulate all the athletes first for their hard work, and it's a great night to recognize them. And I'm also here today with a heart of gratitude to Dr. Gwatney, Mr. and Mrs. Danner, Robert Graham, the Fannin County Fire Department, and everyone that was involved with the emergency that I experienced on April the 7th, which was just 2 weeks ago from today. I believe that there are heroes who walk among us, never looking for glory or praise. They don't seek recognition for their thoughtful, caring ways. And I'm here today to recognize a very special student who was my hero on the morning of April the 7th, and that's Tristan Seiler. On the way to work to West Fannin, my truck caught on fire, as Dr. Gwatney already mentioned. This is my cheat sheet, just in case I have a brain freeze. And I was able to pull over and get out, which I'm thankful every day. And with no help in sight, I saw a Fannin County student getting ready to put gas in his truck. He just got out of the truck, and I saw an F on his jacket, and I was like, that's family. And I called out for help with no hesitation. It was real scary. It was dark, and Tristan was there to help someone in need. That morning was truly one of the scariest moments of my life, but I know that my God was watching over me, as he always does. Words can't express the gratitude that my family and I have for you, Tristan, and the love and support that was shown from everyone involved will never be forgotten. It's truly a blessing to live in such a wonderful county, and I heard that echoed with everyone that was speaking tonight, and that's very true, where everyone cares for others, and especially our Fannin County school system. I truly believe that when you bless others, you will be abundantly blessed. This is my prayer for you. And I love the quote from Maya Angelou that says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that morning, I was alone, and I just called on Jesus, and I was able to pull over, and it wasn't but just a few minutes that Dr. Gwatney showed up, Mr. Danner showed up, which, I was like, the main thing is everything's all right, but they just made me feel so special and loved. And Mr. Graham and Tristan, I can't tell you how thankful I am, and I know you would have done it for anybody, and it just happened to be the right time, and and I'm just thankful for you. And I just have something little for you. Let me give that to you. And I know our school system is, very proud of you, and we are so blessed to live in Fannin County. And my family, my mom is here tonight. She came with me, but my husband and Daddy couldn't come tonight, but they just wanted to say thank you. And thank you to the board again and Dr. Gwatney.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Let's give Tristan one more round of applause. Okay, Mr. Chair, our next item on the agenda is school governance team update, and for that, we're going to turn the floor over to Deputy Superintendent Sarah Rigdon. Good evening, Ms. Rigdon.
Good evening, Dr. Gwatney. Thank you. Good evening, Board. So the SGTs have been extremely busy over the last month. Of course, this is 1 month lagging information about the meetings that were held during the month of March. East Fannin met back on March 2nd at 3:30 in the afternoon. Several important things happened, including Mr. Price sharing the school calendar. Also, he went over a recent parent involvement survey to give them some ideas about ways that East Fannin could continue improving. He also discussed an upcoming math night. So if you'll scroll, please, Mr. Inslee. The next meeting was held over at West Fannin Elementary on March 22nd. This would be at an 8 a.m. meeting. It was really cool because they actually brought some kids in that had recently competed in 4-H DPA and CPA competitions, and it was super cool getting to see the kids and let them present their information. Ms. Danner also talked about plans for Earth Day, which will be coming up soon. Ms. Morgan shared information about the SGT, to the SGT about curriculum. And also, Ms. Danner had shared that West Fannin was in the top 33 applicants for a grant. They did not end up getting the grant, but they've got some exciting renovations and upgrades planned for their playground soon. She also gave them a copy of their student handbook for their consideration. The next meeting was at Fannin Middle School. This was on March 16th. There were several exciting things that happened there. Of course, over on the left, you'll also find anything like fundraiser requests, facilities requests, or field trip requests. Those are all listed there on the left. Mr. Young did give a personnel update and explain to the team the folks that would be leaving this year due to retirements. Mr. Ayers, Mr. Weaver, and Ms. Henry are all retiring at the end of the school year. They will be sorely missed at Fannin County Middle School. He also updated them about spring sports. He mentioned to them the difficulties this spring with the weather, and also trying to find referees. We are struggling to find enough referees to call our games. He also shared with them about STEM activities that are going on their campus, and also plans for career pathways and connections. He also gave them the information about how to complete the principal feedback survey and encouraged them to do so. The next meeting was also held the same day, that afternoon, at Fannin County High School. Dr. Ramsey explained to the staff, or to the SGT, information about COVID positive cases, and of course we're enjoying a decline in that, which is awesome. He also reminded his SGT about upcoming revisions or suggestions for revisions for the student handbook. He also explained to them their freshman focus initiative that will begin next school year and the reason it came about, which is obviously to support students and to help them as they transition at the high school level. Other things that they talked about was the Fannin Youth Initiative. We did hear a little bit more about that, and also they made a decision about their remaining charter funds for the year. He also talked to the SGT about upcoming tasks that they had looming, which were the self-evaluation and the principal feedback survey, and also our elections, which will take place in May. And finally, over at Blue Ridge Elementary, they met on March 24th. Dr. Hodges reviewed the district school improvement plan, or district improvement plan. She also talked about Title IV expenditures and asked for feedback about those. She gave them a copy of the student handbook for their review, and also she gave them information about the principal feedback survey and also the SGT self-assessment. We've got lots of exciting things going on right now when it comes to charter and SGTs. We currently are in a window for people who are interested in being a part to complete an orientation training, which is extremely brief and done online. You don't have to come out and attend a meeting. All the information is found on our school system website. All you do is you watch the video and then you complete a form saying that you have viewed the information and that you would like to be considered for an SGT. Parent positions on SGTs are always elected. You complete the form, we put your name on the ballot, and then we will have an election come May. Other things that are going on, they're finishing up their final business for this school year. Most schools will meet again in May for their final meeting. We do take the month of June off, and then we begin our reorganization in July. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rigdon. Mr. Chair, our next item is school happenings, and for that it is East Fannin Elementary School Principal Matt Price is going to take the floor. Good evening, Mr. Price.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Gwatney, thank you for letting me come and showcase some things going on in our school. I can't believe everybody left before the East Fannin School Happenings presentation, but, you know, my feelings aren't hurt, so we'll move on. So my last school happenings was in November, and so we've had a lot happen since then, including our White Christmas. It was the first time we've done that in a couple of years. This building, the PAC, was packed. And so we did our kids did an awesome job with their show. And so I think that was kind of our first school-wide back to normal event that we had since some of the COVID restrictions we've had. And so we had a really good turnout and we were pleased. In March, last month, we had a math night. And so we purchased some Greg Tang math kits. And so our teachers, parents, and students, as you can see, all sat down together and worked through some math games, which supports a lot of our standards, some of the strategies they were using. And so it gives the parents a chance to talk with the teacher and also kind of go through some of the strategies they use in the classroom. So parents can then in turn help their students at home. The next day, we actually, with some of our funding, we gave each student one of those math games kits. So roughly 400 of our kids took home a math game kit to go home with their parents and work and hopefully do some math games at home. What do I point? Am I pointing here? Okay. All right, we also had a PE night recently, and so with some Title IV funding, we purchased what they call drum fit. As you see our kids there with their drumsticks and a ball. In the background, you see the loo. We use our loo for the music part, and there's also an instructor on the loo that kind of guides the students through their drum fit. Kids move all around the ball. There's a lot of movement involved, and so just a different way for our kids to get exercise, and it's really fun for them. Also, that night we showcased, of course, our loo. We had a competition between our students, and then at the bottom, this is a cups game. It's actually it's a recognized competition where they stack cups and then unstack them. And so it's pretty amazing at how fast some of our students are with their cups. Leadership Fannin visit we had a few weeks ago. Of course, Mr. Marlowe there, our student was greeting our students, our Leadership Fannin team at the door. And we showcased a few things going on in our school, much like a board visit when you guys come over. Our STEM lab, our next picture over, our fourth grade students made their own board games and they connected it to math and math skills and math facts. And then they designed their own game pieces and printed them with the 3D printer. And so they were able to, those guys were able to come in and actually play the games with the students in the STEM lab that afternoon. Also, on the picture on the left is our SEL room. I believe you guys had seen it before in the very beginning stages. And so we have developed that pretty good this year. And so they went through some different games but activities that we offer our students. So a teacher or anybody in the building can go into our SEL room and talk about kids, whether they may be struggling with making friends or divorce or things going on at home. We feel like that in a really relaxed setting and kids are doing activities and hands-on stuff, that they're more apt to talk through their feelings and problems and help themselves. Also, with our Leadership Fannin visit, we highlighted our drum fit and our loo for those people. Our robotics club continues to work on Thursdays, and so they're doing really good. I think it's a group of about 12 to 14 students. And so one interesting thing they're starting to do is periodically they go down and work with our pre-K students and so get them excited because these guys really they get really in-depth with robotics, coding and do a lot of in-depth stuff with them. Some of these kids will move on to middle school But several of these kids will still be in 5th grade next year, and so they will probably be, at least have a leg up on making our robotics team and competing. And so, but anyway, they work with our pre-K kids. They get our pre-K kids excited about robotics and things. And just like you'll see in some slides further down in my presentation, smaller kids like working with bigger kids. When our high school kids come over, I mean, they love working with them. And so we're going to kind of continue that circle of our 5th graders giving back to our pre-K kids and so on. We had an Ag Literacy Day, and so we had several guests come and read to our 1st graders. You may recognize Dr. Gwatney there, and also Ms. Williams, our Director of Nutrition. They were two of several that came over and read to our students. Some CTAE connections, kind of going back to what I just said. That is Sawyer Moreland, and so he actually came to our school and talked to our 1st graders. Our 1st graders read a book about welding. It's actually part of their curriculum. And so we called it the CTA department, and they sent us Sawyer. Sawyer's a former East Fannin student. He came over and presented some things to students, showed them some of the gear that they wear, and then we also connected it to writing. And so our kids wrote about what they learned from Mr. Moreland that day. And so it's really good. I mean, our kids asked a lot of questions, and so actually, learned a lot. And so we're hoping to, just create that spark from later on when they move on to middle and high school, that they will be interested in a welding career. 1st graders, kindergarten and 1st grade, back close to the holidays, visited over to CTAE in the cooking rooms, and so those high school students work with our kids on some projects. And also here recently, Ms. Rhonda Matthews brought some high school students over. We wanted to move some of our raised beds, and so Ms. Matthews helped us put them in the optimal place for sunlight and things that we were going to grow. And those guys really worked hard, and it might have been because it was cold outside, but they put together a raised bed pretty quick. I mean, it was in a matter of minutes. So those guys came and worked hard with our students. I've mentioned video editing before. This is just a small sample of our videography kids. They are, of course, shooting their own footage. They're working with, a lot of times, with lower grade levels, and so they take these videos back and they edit it, and it helps us highlight our school. So this is just a small, think about a 40-second video. So that was made by a 4th grader. All right, Mr. York came over a few weeks ago, and he met with some of our Alpha students and talked about the stock market and ways to invest money. And we got our results back earlier this week, and so I want to quote this right. It was maybe 500 or 600 kids. We had 500 or 600 people that participated in the game. Each of them started with $100,000, and so we had 2 of our teams place in the top 50, and so that was the first time they'd ever played it. And so I believe they got about, I don't know, like 5% returns or something, and I may be misquoting that. But almost everyone, I think we had one group that lost money, and so I'm going to write those names down for the future when I start ever investing money. But anyway, they did a really good job. They really did well for the first time playing it. We did get an Easter egg hunt in, our kindergartners, and so we got them all lined up, and rain and hail began. And so that was probably the fastest Easter egg hunt in history. Those kids grabbed those eggs and filled those buckets up, and we made it back up the hill with almost at my panic point it ended. And so, but anyway, so we moved on and got our the rest of our grades in the gym, and so our kids didn't care. It didn't matter as long as they were eggs somewhere and they were collecting them. They had a good time, and that was all that mattered. And so, the rest of them had to move indoors, but we did get one outdoor this year, and it was about 42, 43 degrees out there. So, all right, our commitment to the whole child, it's something we've made important this year. One of the things that we purchased with Title IV money is what we call a mind-up curriculum. And so it gives our teachers toolboxes and tools to actually serve our students with some, not just mental health, but just, dealing with feelings that they may not know how to handle, that may be coming from home or from school or friends or whatever. It gives them a chance. Even the first module I think that you go through, it teaches kids just basic breathing. And so taking a minute when they become angry or anxious or whatever. We did a training with all of our teachers, and so that'll be kind of like our Tier 1 level of social emotional learning for all of our students, that all of our students will be exposed to. If you back up a few slides later, our social emotional learning room will be more for students who have specific areas that we want to work on them with in a different setting, so we can really address the needs of those students. The picture on the right, we had, I believe, 9 of us go over, 7 or 9, about 9 of us went over to the poverty simulation back in March. And so they've split us up into families. And so, that was my family there. And so I had 3 kids, and it was really eye-opening of what we learned with. Because a week was, I think, 15 minutes, and so you had to go and you had to pay bills, and I was, unemployed in the simulation, and it was still hard to really just keep everything together. And so when you're scrambling to pay rent and to pay groceries and your kids, I think it was a 4-week simulation, and it took me 4 weeks to go get my kids signed in for a Chromebook. And so it's really understanding, things that are going on in your area and just what other people are dealing with. And so we get the kid perspective at school, of course, but that gave us a different perspective of maybe what they're coming from in their houses if they're in any of those situations. So very eye-opening for us. And so it's a commitment that we've had that we'll continue to have, and we use a lot of times our Title IV budget to serve our kids even better. So. Any questions for anybody?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Price.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, next item is public comment. Mr. Danner?
Yes, sir. We have one gentleman, Mr. Anthony Walden, wants to speak on call to action.
Okay. Mr. Inslee, if you could go ahead and, you've got it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here, and I want to say I am so thankful to live where we live. Not a better place in the world to be than in the mountains and in the tri-state where we live. But things are changing in our nation and our world, and what call to action is a step forward to prevent some of the things that we see happening and stand up for our constitutional rights. Board, I don't envy the job you've got, Dr. Gwatney. I can't imagine having a better person in the place of where you're at to lead this school system. So thankful we got you. But we're starting a local grassroots effort in to support our constitutional protections found in the First Amendment in our schools, in our cities, in our counties, in our states. It's to stand up and speak out for our values and our beliefs, to stand up for the protection and values and beliefs that we want for our children, and to steadfastly fight against anything that would jeopardize or call into question or attempt to silence these rights. We've lost most of what we've lost through silence. We're also going to be moving forward in this call to action being a proactive, not a reactive situation. And I believe each of you here today, down deep in your heart, will agree with everything that we have to say and what we're going to be founded on. But at the same time, we feel like our hands are tied and we can't say always what we'd like to say. First of all, the First Amendment guarantees religious freedom and expression. Today, in America, that expression is limited, questioned, and even denied. We have been programmed and we have willingly given up our constitutional protections many times as a form of social order. In Everson versus Board of Education, the first major challenge to this First Amendment right was issued. We won that battle. And we're winning battles today where we have stood up and fight for those. We lost in 1962 in the Engel versus Vitale, where the attack on prayer first happened. And over the last 80 years, our founders' intent and protections that have been given to us in the First Amendment have been hacked away with several court opinions. And since the decision of that Vitale in 62, we've been slipping backwards in a move toward an anti-American socialist agenda. The removal of God was an orchestrated plan toward humanism, and it was launched by John Dewey in 1933 in the Humanist Manifesto, and I hope all of y'all have read that. I've given it to you in the past. I agree that our community is way better than most, and that's where we want it to stay. But the reality is education is in serious trouble. Liberal elites and socialists with anti-American agendas are blasting away at America's foundation, forcing ideologies on local school systems that conflict with local convictions. Education that creates ignorance about the Constitution, America's beginnings, her founders, and our history. Education that normalizes depravity and minimalizes morality. Education that protects the rebellious, promotes the ignorant, and attends to the dysfunction of the few at the demise of a whole. Education where teachers are more fearful about IEP requirements than making sure the student learns. Education where degrees are rewarded over devotion and dedication. Education where teachers no longer feel safe. And most sadly, and this is the worst part, where educators and teachers are no longer encouraging the next generation, for the most part, like when I grew up, to become educators. Our goal is not to put Christianity back into education, but it is to guarantee the right that everyone has to express. The First Amendment right that protects their Christian expression, even in education, that no child would feel that their conviction or the convictions of their families were forbidden because they are not allowed to voice that conviction because of another person's conviction to the contrary, especially when expressions in all forms of, and they call it, dysphoria, are permitted, allowed, and protected. Some of our goals are to get back to plain old education, supporting educators whose goal is teaching, reading, writing, arithmetic, history, patriotism, ethics, no more social justice or immoral diversity or anti-constitutional teaching. Our priority is to stand firm on our First Amendment protections, to hold accountability local, state, and national leaders, to utilize the very same tools that have been used against us to take away our First Amendment rights and to gain back their function in our children's education, our court system, especially our court system, our local community governments, our state, and finally our nation. Tonight, I'm here to invite each of you to a call to action meeting Sunday, May 1st at 4 o'clock. Together, and I mean together, we can make a difference. If we don't stand today, folks, we've got more to lose than we had yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. Mr. Danner, is there any other public comment? Okay. Mr. Chair, our next item on the agenda, number 9, is a facilities and construction update. We'll turn it back over to Mr. Danner.
Good afternoon, Board. Dr. Gwatney, our monthly facilities update. Robert, the top one right there. Yep. We'll start at the schools. Miss Short called me. She's got all these accolades tonight, so I'm going to pick on her for a minute. She says, we don't have a home for girls volleyball. I said, I thought they dress in the visitor girls' dressing room. She said, it is, but it's for a girls' basketball. So she requested that maintenance come and remove the lockers. And I said, yeah, that's no problem. We can take them out. And then she says, well, can we move them to the old gym for cheerleading? Mr. Bearden, who won the bid when we moved them out of the middle school, I think you used them for scrap, so we didn't really have to be careful with them. Had to be careful with these because they're going to be reused. So Robert, the next picture. So this is actually installed at the old gym for cheerleading. And so again, I don't think anything's been done since that time to the gym. At West, over the last storm, this is about the only damage we had. That's at West. Of course, you can see the tree fell. The fence had only done that top part. Good old Blue Ridge, once again, had a This is not sewer, this is a stormwater drain that was stopped up. So you would think 515 is behind it where the truck is, so we went and looked at the plans trying to actually find where it drained to. The plans had it drawn, draining back towards the school. Once we actually got it finally cleaned out, the drain actually went back towards Highway 515 and then took a left, so that was a pretty major ordeal there at Blue Ridge. So there's just a couple pictures of it. Go ahead, Robert. That was a mess. Then at the high school, again, you can see some of the LVT flooring that was done over the summer. So now the next project there at the high school is removing all the old shelving, and I think the shelves have already been ordered. So again, the maintenance department done that as well, and just waiting on the new shelves to come in. We'll look at that pretty green wall right there. And then there's another, then there's is that mustard? I think that's mustard, so, but anyway. Also at the high school, Dr. Ramsey, once again, had just a wonderful idea. This is in the counselor's office. Actually, this is a good idea. Just to the left, there's a conference room for, Sheena, what's her title, Dr. Ramsey? Lysol Clinic Social Worker. So that's a conference room to the left. So they requested another room to put supplies for students that are in need. And so again, we come and took a look at it and made some things happen. You know, of course, Dr. Ramsey, all I got to do is put up 2 walls and knock a hole in the wall, and become a major ordeal, because what was in one of the block walls was 2 water lines and the drain to the roof, so we had to detour and do a different thing. And then, of course, that, anyway, it is complete. It's been painted now, so again, it's going. This up CTE building, new hot water heater maintenance, again, installed that. That's another picture of that sheetrock wall where the studs were just a second ago, in the same little area. And that's pretty much it for facilities. And then going to our construction, transportation, yep. Got several pictures going up, electrical reels there in the shop at the transportation facility. Go ahead, Robert. And a lot of them just speak for themselves. Yes, that building is Woody's up there. Notice there's no gravel on the parking lot. So again, there'll be some updates on it in just a moment. Go ahead, Robert. And that's in the tool room, the resident flooring, doors have been installed. Of course, it's completely not into dry just yet. That's in the reception area at transportation. That's one of many electrical boxes there at the transportation facility. That's the start of the resident flooring in the bathrooms. That's in the bus training room looking outside. Go ahead, Mr. Inslee. And that's looking in the opposite direction. So again, there's an updated picture on it here in just a moment as well. There's a finished floor in the gang bathroom. So that resident flooring's in all the bathrooms at the transportation facility. That'll be the training pad once it gets complete. Again, the fueling station. By surprise, was going out to check on it. One morning got stopped. That was about 7:45, 7:30. Had to wait on traffic for a while and come around the corner and noticed why. So again, they've started dumping the base coat of gravel, and guesstimating that day in a day and a half, probably about 180 loads of gravel, and that was on the transportation parking lot side only. And so again, several pictures that I've tried to take pictures every day and actually every couple of hours just to watch the progress on it. If you've not been by there lately, The whole transportation side is complete with the base coat, exception of the training pad itself. I think that might have been the same picture. Go ahead, Robert. It was a nice, it was nice to see the base going down. Go back up one, Robert, I'm sorry. The garage doors are about 80% complete. This side is finished. That's on the Woody side. The other side, when I went by today, was about, all three doors was about halfway up. So again, I didn't make it back out there this afternoon. And then that takes us to the staff development. Finally got the sewer drain lines in. I want to thank Shannon Bradford for and our architects and our CMs for getting that approved. So again, the fill lines are in on the staff development side. In turn, then that helps to finish up the curb and gutter, because we had to wait on that area for the curb until the septic got put in. So this again is at the staff development. Henry, those are called fire ponds? Those are called fire ponds. If one of those fell down, that roof would fall down. And actually, I'm just joking. That thing weighs about 1.5 pounds, the whole thing does. It is decorative, and I don't have a painted, they've been painted now, but I tell you, it really looks good when it gets the colors on it. Sorry, Henry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. All the mini splits, that's sitting several next pictures in the staff development center. The electrical is internally complete, and some rooms have mini splits. Those will be that could be left on after hours, controlled by the tenant of that office. That's the data room, of course, hooked up, ready to go. We're just waiting on the switches to be installed. Can lights, I think that was in the training room. That is the training room there. And that's our fixed seating training room. That's for the that was for the speakers. Again, another mini split, another office. And then the soundboards in the fixed seating training room, just like here. This building was built with acoustical in mind. That's why you got the different type ceilings in here. That facility, even though it's going to have the drop ceiling in it, that's going to help for sound barriers and all that type of stuff, so people can in the back can hear the same as they can in the front. So again, that is complete. And I want to. We got some special guests here tonight. We've got. Drew Watson with Bowen & Watson. He's with us tonight. Also Dustin Duncan from Bowen & Watson. And our architect, Mr. Henry Pineda. We asked him to come tonight and turn the floor over to Drew. And Henry said he would speak only if he was required to. So if you got questions for Henry, pour it on him. And Mr. Drew Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Danner. Dr. Gwatney, board, thank you for having us here tonight. One of the things we wanted to discuss is we're so proud of the construction projects we have going on, but one thing that I'm sure many of you will remember is early last year when discussing the construction projects, we anticipated, if all things being normal, we could complete those projects within about 12 months or so. As we all know now, it's been around 12 months and they're not complete, but I would say that discussing that 12 months in a normal condition, and as I think everyone knows now, is unfortunately we are not in a normal state when it comes to the supply chain issues. And basically, we just wanted to let everyone know that we are doing everything in our power to complete things as soon as possible. I think we have a really good plan, but it has just really thrown everyone in the industry for a loop. It's every project, it can be something, just for instance, a big shortage we've had recently is concrete. Something that generally we call the next day, we get as much as we want. Now we're scheduling 2 weeks out. If it rains the day before and it's coming, you get rained out, you get in the back of the line. So there's been unprecedented things like that. Dustin, I think on a job we finished this summer, we had dispatched trucks to Florida to get paint just because there was so little around. So really it's been a difficult time, but we wanted everyone to know that we have all the resources we can committed to this, and we are committed to making sure that you achieve the quality that you deserve and get it done as quickly as possible. But just wanted to be here and ask if you had any questions for us, and we'd be happy to try to answer those for you.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Did y'all move the gravel yourself, or did you outsource that?
That is Johnson Paving did that, and they're doing the gravel and they're doing the paving, and they're an excellent outfit. So we're very happy to have them.
They're local.
Yes, they're very. I think they're about 15 miles away. I think that's about right.
So do you have an estimated time?
We right now we're fighting some procurement issues. But if all things fall into place, we should be ready with the Staff Development Center in around July, if I'm not mistaken, Dustin.
Yes, late June, early July.
So again, we appreciate you guys bearing with us through these tumultuous times. It's been interesting to say the least.
You said that you had a certain plan. Can you discuss a little bit or go in depth on that plan? What things you're facing and how you're handling them?
Absolutely. I'm going to turn it over to Dustin, who's our project executive on the project, to discuss that in more detail.
Yeah, so our plan right now is we're waiting information as far as the shipment of the panel that was supposed to ship yesterday. We have not got confirmation if it shipped or if it has not shipped. If we don't find anything by tomorrow, we're going to put plans in place to put a temporary panel in the staff development building so we can proceed with starting up air conditioning units and final lighting so we can proceed with the rest of the finishes, the flooring, the cabinetry. Painting is done, drywall is done, we're ready to drop ceiling tiles. The building is becoming in a finished state, but without conditioned air, we don't want to put cabinetry in or flooring because it becomes a legacy issue for you guys for maintenance down the road.
I'm going to pin you down just a little bit tighter if I can.
Absolutely.
When did you start planning on that alternative for that? Was that something that you just, for the last couple of months, or is that something pretty?
No, not the last couple of months. We started it pretty soon. When the last push happened, the panel was coming April the 5th, and then was pushed to April the 20th. And when they made that last 2-week push, that's when we started thinking about maybe we need to have a contingency plan in place to not, because we don't have a comfort level with it to know that it's going to come.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, but if you
No,
have more on the plan, go ahead. I'd
No,
like to hear more on it.
but that is our plan, is to put it, is if we don't get any good information from Cutler, Hammer, Eaton on the switch gear, then we'll proceed with a temporary panel and proceed with the finishes in the building. And then when the panel does come, we will change it out and put in the correct approved specified panel. That would be the only way that we'd be able to proceed at this time with future finishes.
Well, I'll commend you, the fact that you have a plan, because I don't have a plan for customers that ordered parts in November, and I still don't have them. So they're not out there, and just like you, I'm dealing with that myself. So they tell me they're stuck in some container somewhere, I don't know where somewhere is, but they're there.
Yes, sir.
You gentlemen have also faced some challenging weather conditions. We've had a lot of rainfall, and that certainly hampers the movement of the dirt.
Absolutely. But luckily, it's becoming to a finished state now, the site work is, so with the septic system and the water vaults are installed now, and it's coming to a finished state, and asphalt's going to start next week, so you'll start seeing some blacktop, and it's going to look really different next week.
And really, like Dustin said, the main thing we're waiting on now in the Staff Development Center is what we call the switch gear, which is the main power feed into the building. And without that, obviously, you can't power the building. So once that's turned loose, then it's really going to go quickly from there.
Mr. Bramlett stated about all the weather and stuff. How are we on our erosion control as far as conveying that with the county and stuff? Are we on cue with that?
I believe we are. We had a civil engineer up here this past week, and we've been in communication with them when we have had issues and put in additional measures that the county requested to make sure we can keep it under control, not only during construction, but also when we're finally out of your guys' hair, that it's not a future issue for you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's y'all's expectation on the heating and cooling system as far as efficiency? Is it very much better than the past, or?
Yeah, with the changes in technology now, that it'll be much better than what you guys are currently using at other facilities.
Well, I got to say something. Everybody else has. I was by there today. It's looking good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm glad that we have such two facilities here in Fannin County.
Okay, gentlemen, we appreciate the respect that you've shown
Thank
the
you.
board by coming and giving this update, and we certainly look forward to the project completion. Mr. Chair?
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate your dedication, and I agree with Mr. Bearden. I was by on the way over this afternoon, and it's looking great.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Henry, architect?
He can tell you more about the efficiency of the HVAC, I bet.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Danner, does that wrap up your update?
Yes, sir, unless Henry's just dying to talk. And Henry, this is your last shot, Henry. All right, no, we're good.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we'll advance on to number 10, which is to approve to declare Fannin County High School track and field equipment as surplus. Mr. Danner?
Yes, sir. The high school received a new pole vault, high jump, and some standards. So we have some old ones that they would like to declare as surplus. So if you approve surplus, we'll do our bidding process like we always do, put it on the website for a couple of weeks. Next board meeting in May, come to you with a winning bid for the proposal. I think somebody has reached out to the high school saying they are interested in it. Again, we'll follow our traditional procedures, policy DOR, in doing the procedures.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, I make the recommendation to proceed as presented.
We have a recommendation. The chair will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make that motion, please.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to declare the referenced Fannin County High School track and field equipment as surplus. All those in favor? Votes unanimous. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Danner. Mr. Chair, our next item is to approve the district financials, and for that, we're going to ask Ms. Susan Wynn if she'll come up.
Good evening, Dr. Gwatney, Board.
Good evening.
So we have our financials for February the 28th, 2022. For our general fund, that is 66.66% complete for this year. Our local revenue is at 90.31% versus 94.63% last year. Total revenues are at 81.22% versus 83.26% for last year. Our total expenditures are at 59.85% this year versus 58.72% for last year. And then we have our capital projects for our 8 months, which shows our facilities, facility construction and our encumbrances. And we can just kind of keep on scrolling. Then we have our special revenues. So this is all as we go down, you can see all the different items that are in there, those different programs with all the directors. And then we have school nutrition, and that completes the financial statements.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Make the recommendation to approve these as presented, Mr. Chair.
Recommendation, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Vote is unanimous, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Next item, Mr. Chair, is the SPLOST update for the most recent check. Ms. Nguyen.
Yes, we received in March for our February spending, which was $696,213.98. That is 15.3% growth from the prior year, and we are still very blessed and receiving record numbers for our SPLOST.
Yeah, we're thankful for this growth that allows us to have these debt-free projects, just like the one we received the update on just now. So. Mr. Chair, item number 13 is to approve to award bid regarding Board of Education bank accounts. Ms. Nguyen.
Yes, we have bid out our bids for banks for 1 year. We advertised those with the newspaper for 2 weeks and on our website, and they were turned in. And this is our summary of what we received. We had 3 bids with SunTrust, Truist, our South State Bank, Truist, and Mountain Valley did not submit a bid. United Community Bank and the Bank of Ozark submitted a bid. The annual fixed percentage rate that they both submitted was 0.25%, but United Community Bank did not waive all service charges and waived all other charges, night deposit bags, endorsement stamps, and deposit slips. And Bank of Ozark would not waive all service charges and would charge for cost of night deposit bags, endorsement stamps, and deposit slips. So therefore, we recommend to approve United Community Bank for our next year.
Mr. Chair, I'm thankful that normally we seek a 3-year bid, and previously we did a 4-year bid, so we've reaped the benefit of an additional year of much better interest compared to the current interest, which is why we're at a 1-year bid recommendation currently. Our hope is that interest rates will improve between now and 1 year from now, and we'll rebid this and try to recover that interest income that we were receiving previously. So I make the recommendation to approve this as presented.
We have a recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? I'm very pleased that you're able to continue doing business with the same bank because there's some economy associated with not having to change forms and the printing that's associated with that.
Order checks, cost of checks.
Very good. All those in favor? Votes unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, for our next item, Mr. Chair, is it's been in the news recently, House Bill 190, and this is a bill that also includes, well, many things, but it also includes a supplement for school personnel. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Nguyen, and she's joined by Ms. Rigdon. We'll turn it over to both of them for an update on this and a recommendation.
Yes, Board. We are requesting approval for the special use of funds for the personnel, which we've divided into 3 different topics, which we've got the request to approve to pay the House Bill 190. It's a $2,000 supplement for amended FY22, which the governor signed into law March the 16th of 2022. And House Bill 190 funds 373 positions, which includes teachers, counselors, superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals, assistant principals, school health care personnel, special education specialists, media personnel, technology specialists, psychologists, paraprofessionals, custodians, bus drivers, nutrition employees, GNETs, preschool with disabilities. The $2,000 supplement is for all full-time and part-time employees. House Bill 190 funds Medicare and Social Security for nutrition employees and for bus drivers, and it only funds Medicare for all other positions. So the employees would receive the $2,000 less Social Security and Medicare and any other state and local taxes that may be deducted. So that's our first part. Our second part is we're requesting approval to pay our pre-K teachers and paras the $2,000 supplement. But this supplement is funded through Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning, which is DECAL. And this program just funds the Medicare. It does not fund the Social Security. And thirdly, we're requesting approval to pay the $2,000 salary supplemental pay to all other district employees employed as of March 16th, 2022, that were not funded through House Bill 190. And we have 77 positions that were not funded with House Bill 190, and we'll pay those supplements along with the employer portion of Medicare and Social Security for those supplements and any other Social Security that's not funded through that with our local funds, which is our general fund. So our general fund, when I submit to you later towards the end of the year, our amended budget, these numbers will be included in that budget.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wynn. Ms. Rigdon, do you have anything to add to this?
No, sir, just that she, as Ms. Wynn just stipulated, we're doing this in accordance with what the governor said as he signed this in, that it is sent, and it's based on whether or not you were employed on that date that he specified. So any employees who were employed on that date will receive the same supplement. It's just that we're also asking that the Board of Education also contribute to the amount, since the state did not send all of the monies that would be required, so that everyone did receive the same supplement.
Okay, and so the board would make up that difference from general fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chair?
We have a recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, you have a motion to that effect.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll make that second.
And a second. Is there any discussion? Ms. Wynn, based on the figures you just put up, that amount that we're going to be adding to cover those employees who are not included in the 2000s are roughly $154,000?
Well, it's plus Social Security, so it's $2,153 times the 77, about $165.
Okay. I'm very pleased that Fannin County System is going to take care of all of our employees and follow through with the funding. We value everyone in this system. Any further discussion?
I like the word you said, all.
Me too, I agree.
All those in favor? Votes unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rigdon. Thank you, Ms. Wynn. Okay, Ms. Rigdon will remain at the podium for a local board training update.
Okay, thank you. Good evening again, Board. I wanted to give you a little bit of an update of where we are with the GSBA requirements in our local board training. First off, we did have our board review, which was back in March. It was late March. It's been since we had our last board meeting. And at that exemplary committee review meeting, which was attended by our board chair and also our vice chair, Mr. Bramlett and Mr. Cole, in addition to Sheriff Kirby and also Chairman Jamie Hensley, Dr. Gwatney, and myself, we did review all of the information that was provided by the survey data. Of course, as I had kind of alluded to in previous communications with the board through Dr. Gwatney, we are probably going to be working on some readability of this survey in future administrations, because it's not extremely easy to understand what some of the questions mean. And so as you look at the actual results, there are several different standards that were rated, and some of it is a little bit on the confusing side. And so if you look at the table, you can see the number of questions for each of the sets of standards, whether it's systematic improvement, organizational structure, policy development, how the board meetings themselves are run, personnel, all of those standards. There's a certain number of questions that tie back to each of those umbrella topics. And at the very top, Mr. Inslee, if you'll look at the, there we go, at the table, there were sections where I'm rating the overall ratings, and some of the questions were rated overall satisfactory, but then some of the questions people did rate it as they didn't know, and I think that really does tie back to the fact that it's extremely difficult to understand what the questions mean. And so between now and next year, when we go through this process, we're going to be working on streamlining the process somewhat and making sure that we use common speak, because it's sometimes difficult to understand what is being asked. So this was yet another one of our requirements for the GSBA exemplary status, and it has now been completed. Right here was our agenda that we had, as well as our sign-in.
Okay, thank you for that review, Ms. Rigdon.
Absolutely. So in
what's
addition
next?
to that, right, in addition to that, I wanted to also remind you about our upcoming final training session, which will be on March 12th,
No,
or
May
not
12th.
March, I'm sorry, May 12th, which is your next board meeting. We will begin at 1:30, and this will be our local board training held at the Board of Education office is where we will begin. The first hour will be spent talking about legislative update. And so we will have Mr. Matt Cardoza from the Georgia Department of Education. He will be zooming in for us to give us an update on any laws or legislation which was passed this year. Of course, we just finished that legislative session, so the timing is perfect. A lot of those things may come into law beginning on July 1, so this will be a great preview. We anticipate that session itself will only take about an hour. The second 2 hours, which will be super exciting, we will have Mr. Danner, and we will be working through some of the information that we have gleaned from the recent stakeholder feedback survey. As you recall, back during the fall, we did reach out to our community, to our teachers, to students, to parents, to find out what they believed our priorities should be in the next few years for the Fannin County Board of Education. Part of that was because of the recent land purchase that you were able to make. You know, last May or June, we had that amazing purchase of the continuous land off the side of Fannin County High School. And so one of the things we want to do on that local board training date is actually do a little dreaming. Talk about what we have found out from the stakeholders that took part in the survey and begin some planning for the direction that we want to go when it comes to facilities, whether it's improvements, new structures, taking a look at that information. It should be absolutely a great session. That will round out your 12 required hours, and so at next month's board meeting, we will have an agenda item where you will approve to submit for the exemplary status. And so we've almost made it all the way to the end. So it'll be a great day. Any questions?
Ms. Rigdon did an excellent job of facilitating that meeting that she referenced. And I'm proud to say that she included the Board of Education's responses to the same survey, and all of the answers were satisfactory. And I think it speaks to the complexity of this organization. There are so many moving parts, and it's certainly not fair to ask someone who is not involved on a regular basis to understand all those questions. So thank you for your attention to that process. And thank you for keeping us on track with our training.
Thank you, Mr. Bramlett.
I appreciate having representatives from local government on this year's committee as well. We work really well with local government, and to get their feedback was nice.
Indeed.
Ms. Rigdon, is approval necessary at this point for any of that?
No, sir, it is not. That was for informational purposes only.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to item number 16, which is executive session. And Mr. Chair, I recommend it to discuss personnel, real estate, and student information.
Do you hear a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion and second to go into executive session. All right, we'll need a motion and a second to resume the meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. We will resume our regular meeting. And no action was taken in executive session. We do need to approve the minutes from the executive session from March 10, 2022. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
You have a second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, our next item on the agenda is personnel, and I'll give members a moment to find the personnel sheet dated 4/21/22. Is everybody ready? All right, thank you. All right, resignations. The first resignation is effective 4/6/22. This is Ann Ingram. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Votes unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you. The remaining resignations are all effective 5/31/22, Mr. Chair. These are Rhonda Daves, Debbie Decabellis, Megan Day Donato, Sean Marie Dodson, Cindy Hicks, Betsy Hyde, Melissa King, Eldon Moats, Angela Patterson, Wesley Simonton, Daniel Stewart, and Brittany Wagner. Make those recommendations, Mr. Chair.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor? Vote is unanimous, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Recommendations, of course, all of these are pending completion of paperwork, background check, and training. Rhonda Anderson for School Nutrition Specialist, effective date 6/1/22. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
May I have a motion?
I'd like to make that.
We have a
Second.
motion. We have a motion and a second, thank you. All those in favor? Votes unanimous, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The remaining recommendations are all members of the professional staff, effective date 7/25/22. These are Caitlin Dickey, Wade Hodges, Daniel Hodgkins, April Evanson Nicholson, and Melissa Reese. Make those recommendations, Mr. Chair.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor? Vote is unanimous, motion is approved.
Okay, thank you. Recommendation for substitute teachers pending completion of paperwork, background check, and training. I'll make the first one separate. I believe we'll have one abstention from this. Jennifer Cole, substitute teacher, effective date 4/22/22, Mr. Chair.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
And a second.
Motion and second, all those in favor? We have 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Remaining recommendations for substitute teachers are all effective 4/22/22. This is Nicole Fish, Victoria Keaton, Jessica Middleton, Olivia Siston Rhodes, Alana Riggle, Pam Thomas, Kyra White, and Stacy Williams. Make those recommendations, Mr. Chair.
Do I hear a motion?
You have a motion.
And a second.
You have a second.
Thank you. Motion is second, all those in favor? Votes unanimous, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The next 2 recommendations are for substitute teacher effective 8/1/22, Roy Fallon and Catherine Rosina. Make those recommendations, Mr. Chair.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor? Vote is unanimous, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The Kyra White, substitute nutrition, again, pending completion of paperwork, background check, and training, effective 4/22/22. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor? Vote is unanimous, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The next is the recommendations for administrators. All of these are effective the 22-23 school year, and I'll let you view that list, and we can take those collectively whenever ready, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion to accept the recommendations for administrators.
You do have a motion.
And a second.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor? Vote is unanimous, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We have personnel for 4/21/22, the recommendations for professional staff effective for the 22-23 school year, Mr. Chair. Again, we can take these collectively. I'll let you scroll through the list.
This is an extensive list. Does anyone need more time?
Good.
Very good. Well, I'll entertain a motion
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Vote is unanimous. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes the personnel list, which takes us to our next item of superintendent comments. I'd like to make one clarification from the personnel list, though. We have, as you know, a director of instructional services and curriculum job that is posted, and one of the administrators that was approved on the list is Connie Huff. Connie currently serves as a student services coordinator for Fannin County Schools. Connie will assume the role of director of instructional services and curriculum as a part of her work as an administrator effective June 1. So congratulations, Connie. Where is she? Congratulations on that position. That also creates then an opening that we will work hard to begin advertising right away for student services coordinator. All right, then on comments, did Mr. Knuckles, is he still here? He stepped out. I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Knuckles for coming here tonight and giving the invocation. It was a pleasure to see him, and I know he continues to keep up with us and is proud of what's happening, especially at his former school, Fannin County Middle School. I appreciate those coaches and the administrators, especially Shannon York, who were here tonight with their students, and to all of those students and the success that our athletic and extracurricular programs have. It's amazing, and I'm thankful for that. I also want to say thanks again to Tristan Seiler for going above and beyond to help Miss Yanni in her time of need. He even, in the course of helping her, got a fire extinguisher and was working on the fire ahead of the fire unit arriving. So proud of that young man. I want to thank Governor Kemp for the supplemental pay, but just as important, I want to thank this Board of Education for making it whole to include all employees across the district. And again, congratulations, Connie. I want to remind everyone of the special call meeting tomorrow back here at the PAC, back in this room on this stage at 11 o'clock tomorrow with the Board of Education as well as the Board of Commissioners, and Speaker David Ralston will be present for that meeting as well. Call to order at 11 tomorrow here. And finally, sitting up there at the top up there, Eldon Moats. Mr. Moats, 47 years? Which means that Mr. Moats was here when Fannin County High School opened, which means that he's worked for every principal of Fannin County High School, which means that if you attended Fannin County High School, he walked these halls with you at any point, or was your teacher, like me, Mr. Cole, many others, Chad. I cannot imagine Fannin County Schools without you, Mr. Moats, honestly. As long as I have been a part of Fannin County Schools as an employee or a teacher, you've been a part of it. And so it's just difficult to imagine. I wish you all the best. You're a phenomenal person, an incredible teacher. I named you and Miss Moats as life influences in my dissertation. You've changed so many people's lives and made so many people's lives better, brought so much opportunity to the kids of Fannin County. And hats off to you, sir. And just thank you. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Galloway, if you'd like to begin, we'll just move around the table.
Sounds good. I'll be short and sweet. I know we've been a little long tonight. I want to say thank you to everybody I can't really see if you're here or not, but thank you for everybody that is still here. And I would like to say also thank you to Miss York for all of that you've done. There she is. Hey, she's waiting. And definitely thank you for all that you're doing with athletics. I appreciate it. Dr. Huff, congratulations. Very, very thankful to see you in that role. And Mr. Moats, thank you, sir, not only for all your service here, but for what you taught me. I still remember a little bit of it. I won't say a lot, but I still do remember a lot that you taught me. So I do appreciate your service for the schools. You know, I'm going to tell Darren that I appreciate him letting Drew and Dustin and Henry all show up and answer questions for us. a lot of community members ask us sometimes what's going on and different things, and I appreciate you making that available for us so that we can get those questions answered. So I really do appreciate all that work that you're putting into also. With that, I'm done. Thank you.
My turn?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, Ms. Huff. Well deserved. When we first started and all the athletes came out here, that was only just a small portion of that. I can remember, and I'm old enough, we didn't have an athletic director in Fannin County, and Bernie Hoskins, if I remember correctly, was the first one that Fannin County ever hired. And those of us who were parents and had children knew that they was children who could go like places like Macon, Augusta, like they're doing now. And I'm really tickled that Fannin County started with an athletic director. But we knew as parents that there was children that could go places. What I want to really talk to you about, you couldn't see tears in my eyes. I don't remember her name, but the lady that stood up here, her vehicle caught on fire. Miss Yanty. I can picture my wife in that situation. And for a lady whose vehicle catches on fire, it'd be a lot more, whatever the word is, than it would for me. But I would hope, and I think that would be true, that the young man that stopped would be my son to help her. But I'm very thankful we have people like that in our school system who would take time, even though he thought he's going to get in trouble for being late, he'd take time to help a person out. Now, do you know why I like sitting on the Board of Education? I couldn't see it no other way. My heart is 110% in this school system. And it thrills me that when we have athletes, we have personnel that do for each other. And I'm going to tell you again, we're a family. We are. And we take care of each other. And I appreciate everyone being here tonight. I appreciate all these men that I sit on this school board with. And I think we got a kids first. It's you. Thank you.
Mr. Deweese.
I'll just begin by giving Bobby an attaboy. We spent our night here celebrating our youth, which is, we're about the kid business, is what I've always called it. And that includes Mr. Moats. He's the biggest kid I know. And I realize that every time I talk to him. He's got a heart like a kid anyway. But like I say, we're in the kid business, and this night reaffirms it. All we've did here tonight has been in support of children, and that's where heart needs to be, and apparently that's where it is.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just, I'm a motocross fanatic. I love motocross. My partner here, he likes it as well. When I interview them, these kids today, they say I'm super stoked. So I'm super stoked to be here and be a part of this. Mr. Price, thank you for the update. East Fannin, I think, is doing an awesome job. You know, when I think about Mr. Moats leaving, if I'm privileged to say, Eldon and Wanda's name is brought up at my house a lot because we have extended family, and when we get together, get to talking about the band, Deb's talking about Miss Moats and how she drilled that in, and you're not standing right, and you're off the yard line, and she said, we were great. I can't imagine all the conversations around this county and people that have left that talk about you and your wife. What an impression. What a great impression you have made. Not on me, but just, I don't even know the number. Just thousands of kids come through this facility. I thank you. I thank you for all that you've done. And, I look across, it's hard to see you guys that are still here, but you're heroes. You really are. I don't think you get paid enough. I don't think the janitors get paid enough. I don't think the lunchroom people get paid enough. And I'm thankful that the governor chipped in. I just really believe that the investment that you make is hard, because when you talk to people, they love our kids. We're going into Teacher Appreciation Month here coming up real quick, and I'm very thankful for you teachers. I'm thankful for because my daughter, 12-year-old, she loves it. She's with me tonight. She's sitting right over there. She loves it. She couldn't wait for spring break to be over, get back to school. And my little Lila Kate, she's fixing to be at West Fannin next year, Miss Danner. And she's going to tear that place up. So I'm excited because she is something else. I just thank you for all that you do. And I hope you see the heart of the board up here, not just me, but all of us, that we really do love this place. Mr. Bremen?
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole and I shared a hobby, and spent a lot of time on the back of motorcycles, spinning around in the dirt in another lifetime, but it's interesting to reminisce. I'm so proud of our scholar athletes. Congratulations to those who attended tonight and those that they represented. They certainly do us proud, and the school spirit that they bring to the institution is remarkable. The whole school is affected by their success, so we congratulate them again. Dr. Huff, congratulations. We're so proud to have you in this new position. Mr. Price, thank you for your presentation. It was excellent. It's always exciting to hear what's going on at East Fannin. I want to thank our engineering students who created these nifty insulated mugs that are personalized with the Fannin County logo on it using their new equipment. I appreciate the effort, and this will enjoy a prominent place at my desk. Thanks for our construction folks, Gordon Watkins and the architect, for joining us tonight and providing some insight on the delays that they have experienced, and we certainly understand those. Mr. Moats, thank you for 47 years of dedicated service. When I think of the lives that you have changed and the effectiveness of your leadership in this institution, it's remarkable. It's hard to fathom where those circles, as they expand, will wind up. So I thank you for your dedication to this system. This building, certainly in part, is a testament to your excellence here at Fannin County School System. Your years as band director were remarkable. And the condition of this building, it's pristine, and that's thanks to your oversight and dedication. So you are going to be missed. I will tell you this, however, my grandfather served as a principal for 47 years, but then he found another role in education, so don't go too far away. With that said, and it goes without saying, my respect for these gentlemen on this board is enormous. I have grown to love them over the years. They have supported me in some difficulties over the past year. Oh, and on a personal note, I might mention that many of you prayed for me and offered encouragement as we battled cancer. And I had some scans last week, and they couldn't find any. So we're very grateful.
Amen.
And my wife, Ruth, has a brand new knee, so we're going to be dancing before you know it. With that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? All those in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.